lakes are at present silted up or they are completely filled with weeds. Some of our rivers are becoming dry. And recently we have heard some of the rivers which are rejuvenated and started flowing, some of these small rivers, etc. So we know that in our Western Ghats, we have constructed a number of dams for various purposes, such as irrigation, hydroelectric power generation, etc. And thus silencing our rivers. Most of our rivers are silenced. We are not permitting water to flow through the rivers. Water is either used for the hydroelectric power generation and it may be diverted after that for sometimes for irrigation purpose, or sometimes it may be diverted to another watershed, etc. So we are actually interfering with the nature. Nature has already an equilibrium, or it is working on a balancing. The hills, valleys, plains, rivers, sea, etc., all are under a balancing act. But we are actually interfering with the nature by disturbing its balance. So the nature will try to form a new balance with the disturbance that we have made. So that nature's balancing may not be as we like. So that is why we are again thinking of rejuvenation of streams and lakes, etc. Because a lake may be deteriorated because of the quality of water. The weed growth may be because of excess nitrate present in the water. And thus all these effects are due to human interference. And again, now we are rejuvenating the nature and rejuvenating the lake. We should also think of why the lake has become in such a way. We should find its reasons. Similarly, rejuvenating a river, as I told earlier, we have silenced many of the rivers. That is, earlier the rivers were flowing full, carrying a lot of sediment through the river. Every year there may be a flood, sometimes more than one flood, and which is flooding the plains, and also it is bringing up a lot of sand and silt to the riverbed, etc. But after the construction of many dams, that flooding has considerably reduced. We are relieved from the ill effects of flooding. At the same time, we have started digging the riverbed for more and more costly sand. The cost of sand is raised, and we are digging the riverbed for more and more sand. So on one side, the flow is reduced, and thus the sediment transport is completely reduced, and on the other side, the sediment extraction has considerably increased. So thus we have the river. It will be adjusting with its new balancing, as I told earlier. You can just see the examples of Manrothurith Island. Many of you might have heard about the phenomenon in Manrothurith Island. We can see that the seawater or the salt water is coming back through this. It may be exact reasons it is not yet published, but main reason be the Tenmala Dam. Because the flow through the Kannada river was considerably reduced, and the salt water has ended the river. It is found that even at upper reaches, that is up to some Enath, at that place itself, salinity was detected, but in mild quantities. So we can see what will be happening if this is the allowed to extent. So that is when the water flowing through the river is reduced, that equilibrium means the salt water will be normally coming back to us, which actually we don't like. So this is actually the nature is balancing itself to the new situation. That is what is happening with the nature. So as I told earlier, when the dams were constructed, a lot of water were ponded in that dam. Again, the rainfall we cannot predict. To some extent, historical data we can analyze, and we can say there can be a flood this year, or within a certain year, sometimes there can be a flood. But nobody can predict it with 100% accuracy. We are only predicting or projecting based on the past historic data, and the past historic data, exact data may not be available for very long years, but a maximum of 100 years flood records we may have. And based on some algorithms, we are projecting it, and we are telling that this rainfall is 100-year flood or a 1,000-year flood, etc., etc. That means the next day, any type of any rainfall of large magnitudes can have. But what is the effect of these dams? As I told, when the dams normally store the flood water, thus reducing the flood downstream on the downstream side. So before the construction of dam, every year there was a flood and water was flowing through this. But after the construction of dam, when the spillway gates was suddenly required to be opened due to an excessive flood, the water that is coming out of the spillway will be naturally clear water, and this clear water will take away sediments and other things along with it, because the water has to carry a certain sediment load, which is proportional to actually square of the velocity. You might have heard the theories, etc. So the water has to get that much sediment while it is flowing, which is proportional to the square of the velocity. And you remember there was no water flowing for a number of years, previous years. And when this water suddenly flows through such region, it will erode everything that is in its way. That was actually happened in 2018 floods, especially when the Anathod and the Pamba reservoir, the dams were opened. We cannot prevent the opening of the dams, because if a dam breaks, then the resulting catastrophe will be unimaginable. So we cannot permit the dam to break, but we have to open the spillway gates. The spillway gates are actually the safety valves for dams, and when such gates are opened, the water was flowing through such regions, and it took every sediment and other things through with it, trees, everything. And again, it is then blocked by the bridges and other things. And in many places, unprecedented floods has occurred. So after that, we have started thinking more on the mapping of floods. So flood mapping is a very important. The importance of flood mapping was realized after the 2018 flood. Even though the flood mapping and other things were there earlier itself, but it was just an exercise, and the people thought that this was actually not necessary. This flood mapping and such things. It is just a waste of time. But After 2018 flood, we realized that there is every possibility of flood in most of the different parts of of Kerala. And also in 2018, we have seen that the rainfall was throughout in the Kerala state. When we generally think of a dam, then only that particular river and its catchment area will be considered. Okay. Is there any disturbance from my sound for my sound? Because I am hearing some disturbances. എന്തെങ്കിലും
No, sir. No, not from your part.
ഒന്നുമില്ല. Okay. So at that time, again, we have seen that from Trivandrum to Kasaragod, the flood or the rainfall was continuous over the entire terrain. So we know that we have 41 plus 3, 44 rivers in Kerala in this narrow strip. Even though many of the rivers are of smaller size, 44 rivers are there. And when we reach the coastal regions or the plain regions, many of the rivers merge together, or the floodplains merged by the different rivers. So that situation is a different one. So there, that interaction of different river basins also to be considered. So the flood mapping should consider all these parameters. So here in my lecture, I will just discussing how, or it is a very big subject, but I'm just giving an introduction of the flood mapping and the preparation of emergency action plan. So the flood maps it actually informs local community about the local flood risk. It is also the local floodplain management regulations to the local public, the flood map. It is also known as, especially in United States and such developed countries, it is also used as a known as a flood insurance rate map, which identifies the flood insurance risk zones. That is, in such countries, when mostly the houses will be insured, the land value will be directly related to the flood risk. That is, if the flood risk is very high, people will not, the cost of the land will be lesser. And in order to insure a house constructed in such a land, we may have to pay more. So this flood mapping actually determines the insurance rates. In our country, that much developments are not. And it sets minimum floodplain standards and building standards for the community. And what is an emergency action plan? Emergency action plan, or in short, it is generally termed as EAP. It identifies emergency situations that could threaten a structure. That is, emergency action plan means to identify the emergency situation. If it is a dam, that is, if a dam breaks, what will happen? How much area will be inundated? Or if the spillway of the dam is opened fully, how much area will be affected? Or if a very large event of rainfall occurs in the terrain, how much areas will be threatened? Or if a tsunami occurs, how much areas will be submerged? If a landslide occurs, how much area will be affected? So we must identify the emergency situations that could threaten the structure, a dam or any other structure. So in such a situation, if it happens, we must plan for an effective response to prevent failure of structures, warn downstream residents of impending danger, notification procedure to be followed in the event of potentially hazardous situation, then protect the lives and prevent property damage. So that is what is it is a document. Emergency action plan is a document which identifies emergency situations. That is, in the catchment area of the dam, if an excessive rainfall occurs. So that is an event. It should identify such an event and it should take necessary precautions. So when such a situation occurs, then we must raise the spillway for every excess water that is coming. And again, if there is a flood that is suspected in the downstream side, then we should advance the people that are residing downstream side that there is a flood is suspected within so much hours, so that the people should be relocated from that particular place to a proper safe place. And also there is a notification procedure to be followed in the event of potentially hazardous situation. You might have heard every day in TV recently, TV news, etc., that blue alert, orange alert, red alert, etc. So this everything that is to be done during such an emergency is to be foreseen initially and should be documented. Such a plan is known as the emergency action plan. This emergency action plan is to be prepared for every possible probable disasters. Disasters can be flood, as I told earlier, or a flood due to dam break, or landslide, tsunami, or if there are, say, factories which is handling chemicals, hazardous chemicals. If there is an explosion happens in that, how the then there should be a big an emergency action plan. Like that, for whatever be the such a disaster, if by expecting such a disaster to occur, what are the things to be done, and that should be documented and kept at a very and kept as the responsibility of a very responsible person. Responsible person may be the district collector or the taluk official, tahsildar, or it can be in the village officer or panchayat president or any other officer that is uh, to him the responsibility is made. So this plan should be made in advance and should be kept ready so that at the moment of this alert, people can go into action. That is called the emergency action plan. This emergency action plan includes the responsibilities of a different person, then communication networks, emergency detection, evaluation and classification, then preparedness, supplies and resources, emergency operation center, inundation area simulation, implementation, etc. These are the details of the different documents that will be included in an emergency action plan. Again, the emergency action plan is to be prepared at different levels. That is, it should be prepared at the by the owner of the structure. For example, if the dam, then the dam owner, it can be KSEB, or it may be the irrigation department, or it may be water authority in our case. The dam owner, he should prepare an emergency action plan, and he should circulate that to every officials. The officials means the police force, that is a very important thing, the district collector, and similarly, again, the localized emergency action plan is to be prepared by district wise, by the panchayat wise, block panchayat wise, etc. That is also another important thing, because when an emergency occurs, the people that is to be in action is at the local level. So they should know what to be done. Nowadays, we are just hearing that is a blue alert is there, or an orange alert is there, or a red alert is there. But I don't know how many the local people know what to do when such an alert is there. Maximum they will be sitting in their house. That's all. So whether to move from a particular region to a safer place, that should be known to the local authorities. So a well-documented action plan is necessary in order to save the life and properties. So the preparation of emergency action plan for this type of, for every disaster is so very important. In most of the developing countries, it is there. In Kerala, now for the I think the disaster Kerala state disaster management, they are doing a lot of things. On a state wise, they have prepared the emergency action plans, etc. But I don't know how much it reached to the local level, because the map that is prepared at a state level or a rural-based level will be much different from that required at the local level, because the local conditions will be much different from the global conditions. So the maps prepared from global level should be validated and modified at the local level. So the emergency action plan is to be prepared at the local level. Okay, now just what is flood maps? So flood map, simply flood map means it is a map which gives the uh, depth of flood or velocity of flow or time to arrive the flood, etc. at a particular location. That is, if you are considering a district, and if a flood occurs, if a flood of particular magnitude occurs, which are the places that will be underwater? So these are actually a flood map. Flood maps have a variety of uses, as I told earlier: preparation of emergency action plans, then planning the mitigation measures. That is, if a settlement is there and that may be flooded, sometimes we may be able to construct some structures so that flood may not enter in that region. Then emergency response, that is, once the emergency alert is obtained, then the response is required. For all these things, flood maps, and also the consequence assessment. And these are the tools of visualization of flood information for decision makers and the public. And also it forms the basis of developing different flood risk scenarios based on land use, environmental conditions, and social and economic conditions. It formed the basis of planning and implementation of development alternatives. So that is flood maps. And the floods, actually the flood maps, they are not unique, because the flood varies. The floods of various recurrence periods occur. Recurrence periods means a particular flood, in how many years the flood is expected to be repeated. You may say a 10-year flood means you expect that such a magnitude of flood may recur or repeat within 10 years. So this is actually a statistical value based on analyzing the previous floods. So that doesn't mean that every 10-year it will be equally, after every 10 year it is occurring. The thing is, if you have analyzed 100 years data, the particular flood might have exceeded 10 times. Only that much. Only that is the meaning. Otherwise, we cannot say that it is. So that is why we told that in 2018 the flood occurred is a 100-year flood or a flood of 100-year recurrence period. So that is by analyzing the previous known data, we are telling that it is a 100-year flood. So if a 100-year flood is occurring again now and again next year also, then this magnitude of 100-year flood, the 100-year may be changed to 75-year or 60-year, etc. So it is just a statistical value based on this. So a 10-year flood means that magnitude can be exceeded in 10 years. 100-year means in 100 years the magnitude can be exceeded. 1,000 years for dams, etc. We design the dams in such a way that the flood is not exceeded during the life period of the dam. So that also actually we will be making the analysis based on the available data. But that also sometimes it may be exceeded. All these things happen because the nature control is not with us. So the floods can exceed. So what we can do is we have to make sufficient arrangements in dams, etc., so that if such flood exceedance occurs, the water can be safely uh, allowed to flow to downstream side. So the additional spillways and other facilities will be provided in dams for carrying or handling such situation. So those who visited the Tanmala reservoir, uh, you might have seen there is an emergency spillway by the side of the hill. There is a main spillway and also there is an emergency spillway. So the situation for the emergency spillway arise when there was an excess rainfall in the forest, that is the forest on the in the reservoir or the catchment area of the reservoir, and there was a very excess rainflow which I think the dam was overflowed in 80s, etc. So at that time, they realized the danger and they have constructed another emergency spillway. That is, without any control, the water will flow to the downstream side through that spillway when there is excess water. That is when the water level rises. So such precautions will be necessary to handle such floods. So flood risk, vulnerability, and response information such as. And also when a flood occurs, the evacuation routes, then safe high grounds and shelter areas are to be identified for different recurrence periods. That is, when a rainfall of a particular recurrence period occurs, we must have an idea that due to this much regions will be underwater, and we should be identify the safe shelters for the people and also the evacuation routes, because the road should not be submerged due to the flood. So such routes to be identified and the people should be evacuated from the flooded area. Then it is important for floodplains and also for the coastal areas. Coastal areas, I told the importance is especially when there is a storm surges and tsunamis occur. So we know that we are also not safe from tsunamis because in 2016 a large tsunami struck our coastal regions. It also plays important role in decision making, planning, implementing flood management and floodplain management, and also it gives or provide information on the past floods and potential extent of floods and their impacts to help in making decisions on various aspects of flood management. So flood hazard means it is an indication of the possible sources of danger due to flooding. An indication of the possible source of danger due to flooding. It also varies with the flood severity, as I told earlier, depending upon the recurrence interval. The severity of the floods will be different. If you are considering a 5-year recurrence period flood, its magnitude will be small because within 5 years it will be exceeded. For a small culvert, etc., sometimes we may be using a 5-year recurrence interval or 10-year recurrence interval flood. Because even if the value is exceeded, as some slight flooding will occur, and after a certain time, the flood will be flowing through the water will be flowing through the culvert after a little flooding, which will not affect much important structures. 10-year will be having a slightly higher magnitude. Say 50-year will be sometimes it may be used for fixing the levels of bridges and other things. And if it is very much important structure, it may be 100-year. And for very important structures, important structure in the sense of if it fails, what will happen to the public? That is what I told about the importance. Then that is dams. If it is an earthen dam or the other types of dam, what will happen to such structure? So the flood hazard varies with the flood severity, then location within the floodplain for the same flood event. That is, again, if you are considering a floodplain, within the floodplain for the same flood severity, it's based on its location, the hazard value varies. For example, a person who is residing near the river plain, there is in the river, the main, if he is residing near the river, he is at a high risk compared to a person, even though he is in the river basin, who is at a higher elevation, residing at a higher elevation at a far place. And also the flood behavior, that is the velocity of water, depth of water, the rate of rising of flood water, and time from rainfall to flooding, and the interaction of flood with topography. So that is also another factor which depends on the flood hazard. That is the intensity of flood hazard. For example, the flood behavior, the velocity of water. We know that if the velocity of water is very high, then it is very dangerous for the people. You might have seen very commonly we see in the newspaper when the students or the boys when go to the hilly rivers like Kallar, etc., flash flood occurs. Just because of the high velocity of the flood, the people may be thrown from their position, which may lead to other other problems. And after a few hours, the river may be just like the previous one. The quantity, the depth of water may be less there, but their velocity may be very high. So that is one thing. Another thing is depth of water. Then the rate of rising of flood water. So that is also another thing. Sometimes we may not get enough time to escape from the terrain. If that again that depends upon the rainfall pattern, the catchment pattern, etc. That is the rate of rising of flood water and the time from rainfall to flooding. That is, if you are just near the outlet of a basin, the water may reach very quickly. But if you are far off, for example, if you are considering the Pamba River Basin, the Pamba River Basin actually it is from the Pamba region, Pamba, Kakki, Anathod to Vembarat Lake, that Pamba River is close. So if you see the Pamba, the place Pamba, there the flood may occur very quickly. Suppose the dams are not absorbing the water. The flood may occur within say a few minutes. Sometimes the water may rise due to a heavy rainfall in that terrain. And it will take time, sometimes more than one day, to reach the Kuttanad region, to inundate that region. So the time from rainfall to flooding, that is also an important thing. and the interaction of the flood with topography. In flood hazard mapping, the hazards to be mapped are the flood inundation areas, the water depths, velocities, arrival times of flood waves, etc. There is the flood inundation area, which are the areas, and what are the depth at a different location, what are the velocities, and what are the arrival times of flood waves. As you know, I have already told, as the depth of water increases, the damage increases. Then also we know that the flowing water carry debris. Earlier also I told, the river water will be carrying big stones, trees and other things. It will make significant damage to the structures on its way. Sometimes it may take the foundation of nearby buildings. The trees and other things may block the bridges, etc., which will again back up water behind that. Thus, you know, the common effects. The persons may be unable to evacuate when the velocity of water is high. They may become trapped in a home or business center that is being flooded. Another thing is, when the velocity is very large, emergency responders may not be able to reach the area. Vehicles can get washed off roads and bridges. The death of people trapped in their vehicles may be significant in number. In many places, these things happen, even though not much in Kerala. But in Kerala also, these things happened during the last, I think, in 2020 flood. And also, the increased velocity leads to increased erosion or scour. So these are some of the flood hazard regimes. So you can see there are all these data are taken from a publication by Central Water Commission in their guidelines. So the depth of water and velocity d into v is multiplied. You can see if d into v is between 0 and 0.4, if it is d into v is 0, then it is safe. Infants, small children, etc., that is their height into mass, weight, if it is less than 25, and for older person, that is the title, children, adults, etc. These values are there given, and this table shows the children extreme hazard, dangerous to all. Then the other cases, low hazard, that is when it is 0 to 4, significant hazard, dangerous, that is when 0.4 to 0.6, and when it is greater than 0.6, it is extreme hazard, dangerous to all. And adults, it will be safe, low hazard up to 0.6, then moderate hazard, moderate and significant hazard, and extreme hazard to danger. So this type of tables are available. And so this is just a map showing the previous case. And this is another map which shows the depth and velocity for low hazard for vehicles, different types of vehicles. And this is non-specialty vehicles. And this is another one, the water level recommended for the structures in its way, that is depth above the floor of the structure, whether it is low hazard, medium hazard, high hazard, velocity, etc. And this is a combined figure showing the different hazard. So based on this, we decide the hazardous area or hazard risk at a particular location due to a particular event. So if it is a high hazard region, then it will be unsafe for vehicles and people. So we should not go into that region. It is unsafe for vehicles and people. all building types considered vulnerable to failure when there is an extreme hazard occur. Then the second one is you can see between 2 to 4 scale, it is unsafe for vehicles and people. All buildings vulnerable to structural damage, some less robust building types vulnerable to failure. So structural damage to buildings can occur, but failure only for some older buildings. Whereas from 1.25 to 2, you can see it is unsafe for people and vehicle, but the structure may not fail. The X3 unsafe for vehicles, children and elderly, then unsafe for small vehicle, and generally safe for people. That is when the value is the depth is less than about 0.3 meter and the velocity is less than 2 meter, etc. So this type of graphs are developed for us for the deciding the flood hazard zones. And again, there are vulnerability thresholds for combined hazard curves. So it is divided into 6 zones. It's a considerable safe for vehicles, people and building, unsafe for small vehicle, unsafe for vehicles, children and elderly, as we have seen in the previous charts. Then the depth velocity and other things are shown here. Okay, that is all about the flood mapping. And now how this flood mapping can be arrived. So that is another important thing. The flood mapping can be done by using a process that is here. We are concentrating mainly on the dam break. What happens when a dam break occurs? So we are assuming that if a dam break occurs due to a particular flood, what are the region that will be affected? So in this analysis, we can also incorporate a large spillway release, and without a spillway release also, if a high flood occurs in the terrain, what will happen? All these things can be included in this. So this dam breach modeling or dam break modeling, dam break analysis, all these things, it involves prediction of a dam breach hydrograph and the routing it downstream. There are some simple modeling tools and also there are very complex models that are available. The geographic information system now very commonly used to analyze the spatial data structures, spatial data analysis. We use the GIS, Geographic Information System. Many models can interface with the digital terrain data to produce automatic dam breach inundation zone delineation. That is, there are some modeling tools available. Modeling tools along with the geographic information system and the digital terrain data, this can be used to create automated dam breach inundation zone delineation. Many softwares are developed. One of the first software is DAMBREK, DAMBRK, which is developed in 1977. After that, a number of different models are developed. Some of them are listed there. One is FloodWave, another one is HEC HEC1, HEC HMS, HEC RAS, then NWS SFPDBK, like that. These are all different dam breach modeling. Then Mike software by DHI, Flow 2D, then Simba by AARS. These are all some of the dam breach modeling. Most of these software are very costly, which we can purchase for commercial use. But only such firms which can afford this type of modeling only can purchase that. But there is a freely available software that is known as HEC-RAS. HEC-RAS, HEC1, HEC HMS, HEC RAS. These are all actually developed by US Army Corps, and they have made it freely available in public domain. So we can download this software freely from the internet by these are given by US Army Corps. Hydraulic Engineering Center. A lot of different software there, HEC, HMS, HEC, GeoRAS, for different purposes they have developed and they have made it free in the public domain. Now there are some GIS software also that is available free in public domain. That is the you may be knowing the QGIS. That is also a free GIS software. So just anyway, HECRAS is a free software, and other software, most of the software are the commercial software. MikeFlow is MikeFlood is a very good commercial software with which we can simulate flood. So HECRAS is capable of modeling at a coarser grid cell size while taking subgrid from terrain model to account. It can handle structured and unstructured mesh together. It has a very wide user community and strong support, and it comes free of cost. So these are some of the dam bridge modeling software. This is just an output from for a one-dimensional modeling using HECRAS. It shows a number of river cross sections at a different kilometer or from the upstream end, different meters from the dam to the downstream. And this is a two-dimensional simulation using HECRAS. All these figures are adopted from the guidelines, that is Central Water Commission publication. This is actually a dam break simulation. The area highlighted, it shows the area that will be inundated due to the probable failure of the dam. The various data required for a dam bridge modeling are: the most important thing is the data about the dam, that is the data, what is the maximum water level, what is the minimum water level, the spillway characteristics, all those things, and everything that will be the data about dam, and also the reservoir, the water levels in the reservoir, what will be the inflow to the reservoir, so many other parameters of the reservoir, and also about the catchment, what is the land use of the catchment, etc. Another thing is the flood hydrogram. Again, flood, I told there are different types of flood that will be under consideration. It may be an extremely high flood, that is generally called a probable maximum precipitation. That is the maximum precipitation that is expected to occur in the river basin. From the analysis, we can find out what is the probable maximum flood. So different scenarios will be analyzed, and based on that, different hydrographs will be created. Then the breach parameters, that is when a dam breaks, what are the possible dimensions of the breach? If an earth dam occurs, in what ways an earth dam can break? If it is a gravity dam, in what way a gravity dam can break? So for each of these, the width of break, the depth of break, and other parameters. So fixing the parameters of breaching, that is another thing. Then the most important data is the terrain data. Usually, those who are familiar with GIS, Geographic Information System, digital terrain models are now available, or the digital elevation models are now available. Many digital elevation models are available free of cost, but they are of course resolution. For example, the digital elevation model by SRTM, digital elevation model by Aster, then also a model by the Cartosat, JAXA. So many digital terrain models are now available free of cost, which can be downloaded from the internet. So these terrain models give a very great information to us, because digital elevation model means it is a map, or it is a GIS database. It is a database in which at every location we get the elevation of the place. It is just like the digital representation of the contour map. Contour map, we know that using the contour map, we can visualize the terrain. How the terrain is, we can visualize by seeing the contour map. Similarly, digitally, a digital terrain model, we can digitally visualize the terrain because we know the elevation of each of the point or each of the pixel or each of the grid in the digital elevation model. So the accuracy of the terrain data is most important in the inundation map preparation. Not only the accuracy, but also the resolution. I told that there is a terrain data that is the SRTM data. The SRTM data is having a resolution of 90 meter. That means you will be getting an elevation value only in a 90 by 90 meter square meter area. Whereas Aster has a resolution of 30 meter. Similarly, there are other products which are giving better resolution data. Then land use, land cover data. How the terrain is covered, that is called a land cover, and what is the use to which the land is made, that is land use. So the term land use, land cover means, and generally we call it as LULC. That data is also important because when a rain occurs, the water will be flowing through the terrain depending upon the terrain characteristics. Depending upon the vegetation cover, depending upon the soil type, depending upon the vegetation, rock, etc. These will be required. Because of these parameters will affect the flow of water. And because when the rainfall occurs, the water has to reach the stream. So if there is obstructions in its flow, then its reaching to the stream will be delayed. So for every land use, land cover, we should select proper Manning's N value or the roughness coefficient, because the flow will be affected by the roughness coefficient. We should know what is the roughness coefficient. Also, the population data, that is the population data is also an important one. This figure shows dam ridge analysis. It shows the velocity of water flow due to overtopping failure of dam in Tamil Nadu. So we can see, depending upon the velocity, larger velocities are occurring near the center, and the velocity gradually is reduced. So that is the this is an inundation map. So I think if you have any doubts or anything that is written in the chat box, I couldn't see anything because of presentation slide. So if you want to ask any question up to this portion before entering to the next one, you can ask at present. Or if anything is compiled by the coordinators, then they can also ask about the queries by participants.
Yes, sir. We have received one question. How far are the flood map Kerala prepared?
Actually, for many dams, actually the construction of flood mapping or emergency action plan, that is prepared based on a demand by the Central Water Commission. That is for all the dams in the state, not only in the state, in the country, they have made it mandatory to prepare emergency action plan. So now KSEB and the irrigation department are under the process of the preparation of emergency action plan. And for that, they have prepared the flood maps for where the dams are there. And if there are no dams, then it is not prepared. And that is for dam break, after conducting dam break analysis and the areas that may be flooded due to different conditions, they have prepared, and most of them are, I think, published by them. but they have prepared only at a coarse scale. As I told earlier, the dam owner's responsibility is only up to that much. At a local scale, I think it is not much prepared. But as a global scale, for river basin wise, they have prepared. The electricity board and irrigation department, they are prepared for most of the rivers. And that is the official preparation. Many might have prepared for academic purposes, but that will not be available for public. Okay. Clear? Anything else? Hello? No response. കേൾക്കാമോ ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്? Shall we continue to the next portion? Hello? 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 Coordinators?
Hello. Sorry for the interruption. There was a network connectivity issue. Sorry for the interruption. So please continue.
Okay. Shall I continue to the next part?
Yes.
Any other, no other questions or queries from the participants so far?
Sir.
Okay. Then within some 10 minutes, I will be winding up. And after that, we can make discussions. So the emergency action plan, I have just given the what is an emergency action plan, and it contains 5 levels, 5 steps. First of all, from the visual inspection, that is the event is, there are some 5 steps in the preparation. One is the event is detected either by visual inspection or from analysis of instrumentation data, assess the situation and then decide on the emergency level and the type of alert to be issued, then notify responsible people and issue warnings depending on the alert type, take actions appropriate for the detected emergency, terminate emergency actions and complete follow-up tasks. These are actually the different 5-step response process of an EAP for a dam. So we have to, an event is detected. For example, if there is an earth dam, we see that a crack is developed or the leakage is considerably increased, etc. So an event is detected. It may be by visual inspection or from analysis of instrumentation data. Then assess the situation, then and decide on the emergency level and the type of alert to be issued. So we can assess the situation and whether it is moving to a dangerous situation or not. So based on that, we can give the notify responsible people and issue warnings depending on the alert type. There are blue, green, blue, orange, and red emergency. Blue means the situation is developing slowly and is under control, no danger of immediate failure. That is blue emergency. Orange means situation is developing rapidly and failure is possible. Failure is possible. That is orange. Red means failure is imminent or already in progress. That is red emergency. So these alerts are given. Then if it is blue, then only the internal alert. Internal alert means the people in that particular form, they will be knowing about this. It will not be notified to the public because the situation is only, when it is raised to the orange, then only it will be given to external alert. And then the actions prepare, if it is orange or red, then the for save life of people, prepare to evacuate or evacuate immediately based on which orange and red alert will be. Otherwise, if it is under blue, then they're using some other equipments, etc., the dam will be made safe and the situation will be more. So this is actually the action and emergency action plan. And for this preparation of the emergency action plan, we have to make the inundation maps to be prepared. Then these are the blue, orange, and red emergency situations. I'm not going into the details. So then we have conducted a small study on the Pamba River Basin along with the KSEB for the Central Water Commission. We have come and prepared the emergency action plan for them also. In addition to that, the Central Water Commission also helped and we assisted them for the preparation of the emergency action plan for Pamba River Basin. So I will just show, just we will rush through this. I'm not going into the details. We have prepared these hazard scenarios, analyzed these scenarios, that is overtopping failure, non-flood failure, large controlled release, and based on that depth, arrival time, velocity, water surface elevation, vulnerability, these maps are prepared. Similarly for Anathor Dam and the Kakka Dam. Actually the Pamba Reservoir, which is in the Sabri hydroelectric project, there are three major dams and two reservoirs. That is the dams are Pamba, Kakki and Anathod, and the spillways are provided at Anathod and Pamba. The Kakki and Anathod is a single reservoir and dams at two places with the spillway at Anathod. So we have analyzed all these procedures for this. Then we finally, after analyzing and we have prepared the emergency action plan, and we have found the different panchayats in the study area. These are the different panchayats that will be affected. So and also maps are prepared to each of these panchayats and showing what is their area, what the area that will be submerged under them. In that way, the maps are to be prepared, but that we have just identified and only the total area that will be submerged. That is global maps only prepared, and the local maps are not prepared. In order to prepare the local maps, a lot of field studies are required. But that is a very important thing, the updating the inundation maps locally. So these are the different panchayats that will be submerged, that will have inundation. It will not be a complete inundation, only a part of the panchayat sometimes. Sometimes a major part of the panchayat will be. Then the list of major structures, major bridges that will be affected due to the failure of these Anathod and Kakki dam. These are the various dams, various bridges. Then the different roads that will be submerged during the dam break of Anathod or Kakki dam is the Chalakayam Pamba road will be submerged for a length of 2.83 kilometer. Orithuk Kanamala Tulapalli 17 kilometer, etc. etc. These are the different roads that will be submerged. It continues like this. A different road that will be submerged, etc. And this is an indentation map of a large controlled release. So when this is a very global map from which you will not be getting a clear idea how the inundation occurs. And this is when the Anathod Dam is a large controlled release is there in Anathod Dam. You can see these are the areas where the submergence occurs. You can see the areas that will be submerged. These are the location, and this is actually the reservoir. And we are actually moving from the upstream level to the downstream level. This is the reservoir. the Kaki reservoir, in which here the two dams are here. One reservoir, this is the Anathur Dam, and this is the Kaki Dam, from which the failure can occur. So due to the when the Anathur Dam is failed, and this color, this pink color, this shows the area that will be submerged, and this is for a certain length, and again downstream of that you can see this much area will be inundated. Again, still downstream, the areas that will be inundated, and these red spots are the bridges that are there on its way. And again, the next one, next inundation map. These are the inundation maps that will be created. I have just shown it section wise from top to bottom in different regions, the section wise. So this pink, this color, this shows the area that will be inundated. And these larger lines shows the panchayats. These are actually the boundaries of panchayats. And using GIS software, etc., we can very easily delineate a panchayat, and in that panchayat region, which are the regions that will be affected. That can be very easily identified. And then with that, we can go to the field or the particular panchayat person. When the map is sent to them, they can easily identify, and if there is any updation or correction is required in the map, that can be easily proposed, and a corrective map can be prepared. So this is actually the inundation maps, and these are two different parts of the water system. Again, to the downstream side, Kutanad regions, etc. These are them. This is actually the Vembarad Kutanad region. Here also, again, I told it is, we have considered only the Pamba River, but actually, when it comes to the Kutanad region, it is a merge of Pamba, Achangovil, and Manimal and Argos in Kutanad. All these three streams are draining there. These are different regions that will be submerged. You can see the zoomed maps at a different location. So this type of emergency, similarly, the maps can be prepared for velocity, depth of flow, and also area, arrival time. So many things can be, the maps can be prepared, and these will be used for the preparation of emergency action plan. So you can say the flood arrival in this particular figure, the flood arrival is there. You can see in Mulakuzha, the flood arrival time is 15 to 17 hours when after a dam large controlled release. Large controlled release means when maximum water, when the spillway is raised to its maximum level and water is allowed downstream, it will take 15 to 17 hours to reach Mulakuzha. And the depth of water can rise up to 9 to 13 meters. So in that way, the different for different regions, this should be prepared. These are again, it is continuing like, and also the different shelters. The local evacuation plan, because panchayat, they should know which are the regions that are to be considered for when there is such an such a disaster occurs, to which place we have to evacuate the people. That is why earlier I have shown the different roads that will be submerged, etc. So based on that, a local evacuation plan is to be prepared. So these are some of the identified shelters, the SHV High School, Karakada, Mulakuzha. These regions will be at higher regions. Generally, the school buildings, church halls, then any other halls owned by temple or any other authorities, etc. The collector has a very authority to take over such things, and it can be started as the relief centers, and the people can be immediately transferred. And during such a situation, they have every authority to seize every equipment, that is a moving machinery, that is a machinery, the buses or the jeep, tractor, JCB, because JCB, if a fracture of if a dam fails by if a bund fails, then immediately using a JCB, they will be able to repair such things. So without any notice, the collector can take every such facility. They have authorities without any permission, they can take over this. But generally, as we have seen last year also, they will be taking everything. And during this COVID situations also, they will be taking such things by mutual consent only, but they have the authority to take. So these are the identified shelters, and also the capacity of shelters also. Actually, it is there in the report. The report is a very big report with thousands of pages. I have just taken only many very little things from that report. So these are the different shelter or relief camp that is identified for Pamba action. This one, and these are some of those things. And with this, I'm winding up my session on the emergency action plan and flood mapping. And now we can have discussions on this. If you have any queries or doubts, you may ask.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the very informative session. We go to understand that mere understanding the strategies involved in the rejuvenation of rivers is not just important. It is important that you integrate it with identifying and learning strategies to uh, to meet and mitigate the impending disasters such as floods, which are the direct consequences of climate change. So now the session is open for questions. Any participants can come forward and raise their questions, if any. Okay, if there are any, no other questions, we'll just read out one more question which we received in the chat box. How do we decide the minimum time of evacuation before the arrival of flood wave?
Yes, that is what I told during the dam break modeling. We are getting the time required time for the flood to arrival at a particular place. So based on that, that will be the only time that will be available for us. So that during the analysis itself we will be getting, that is when the dam breaks or when such a rainfall occurs, what will be the time required to reach the flood at a particular location. So based on that, by giving some factor of safety, that is, if it is 5 hours, we will be asking the people to leave the place within 2 hours. In that way, because there should be a safe route. If the water started ponding on the road, vehicles vehicles cannot pass through that. Such problems can occur. So the people should be allowed to move away. So that is the only time that will be available. But we know that near the upstream reaches, the flood arrival time is very less. So at that time, sometimes the people may be asked to leave before that itself. That is when the situation is emerging itself. Sometimes people should be asked to move away. Sometimes the dam may not fail, but it is better to move away before that itself. On the downstream, towards the downstream end, there will be more time for the people to evacuate. But on the upstream side, when the situation arises itself, people will be asked to move away. That is the time available.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, it's time for us to seek the feedbacks from the participants. Any one participant can come forward and give his feedback.
I think in chat box I can see one more thing, that why, as there is so much technologies, why can't we control or predict the severe situation last year flood situation? Okay, it is a good question. Why, as there is so much technologies? See, in many cases, the technologies are at a very high speed, and we are adopting it very slowly. even without technologies itself, this much technology. Earlier people, they were using their own technologies to identify such things. I think during my childhood or boyhood days, we could see. I am from a place in a village near Kottarakara, Kulakkada. So the Kallada River is flowing nearby. I could see that there were stones that were planted were on the roadside wherever there is a possibility of flooding, because every year there were floods, and on the stone there were marks so that the water, if water is at a particular level, that means we should not move through the water. But now, maybe because of the dams, or maybe because there were no flood, such stones are not at all there anywhere. I couldn't see anywhere such stones now. Even just by noting the depth of water that has occurred in 2018 flood in a village or in a panchayat office, they can create a very good flood map, because they are the local people who know what is happening in their place. If such a map, if such a document they can prepare with the help of, say, sometimes a person who is knowing mapping, etc., maybe. But the cost required will be, it will be less than some 10,000 rupees or maximum 20,000 rupees, whatever. So we can prepare a very beautiful map showing every area that will be flooded. And also we can ask the people, local residing people, the previous flood up to what level it has occurred. So for that, there is not much technologies, no GIS, nor nothing is required. But that is also actually not happening. Now there are very good technologies. That is the what is called the geographic information system. The free software for geographic information system, QGIS, is there, and many students, many people are knowing geographic information system, with which we can create very good maps, because these maps are essential. Just not only to visualize, because in a government office we know that the village officer may frequently get transferred. When a new person comes to an area, he may not be knowing anything about that. But if there is a map, so that within one day he can study everything and he can act accordingly. The pupil, and also if in a panchayat office, sometimes elected representatives may be there. But the elected representatives also, after 5 years, he may not be there. A next person will be coming to that location. So we must document all these things. So steps to be taken. It is not that much costly, but there should be a willful effort that is required. Then another thing is what you are told is the, as I told in the initial, we cannot predict the natural things. There is a limitation to us. Whatever be the thing, we cannot predict the rainfall. Last year also, because over the 100 years there were no such rainfall, and immediately when a very big rainfall occurred throughout Kerala, then our systems might have collapsed, even though it is not collapsed, but it can work only in that way. But then it was repeated in the next year, we were more careful. This year we were expecting such disasters, but luckily it didn't happen. So now we are aware that there can be very heavy rainfall. So in that way only this emergency response can be built up. So that is the another about that I can tell. And there is another question. Does the yellow alert and the blue alert implies the same meaning? No. Yellow alert, blue alert will be in the system itself. That is, if it is a dam owner, then the dam owner, for example, KSCB, the Pambaka Anatod is by KSCB. KSCB is the dam owner. So the dam owner gives alert to its pupil. KCB pupil, yes, the water level in the dam is rising. It has not reached an alarming level, but you should be careful. You should be careful means they should prepare everything to act. That is, when it is required to give an yellow alert, they should be ready. At that time, the person who is responsible for issuing the yellow alert should not be far away. So they will be informing the collector that we have issued an yellow alert. But the collector may not be issuing to the public that the blue alert is not given. But when the situation is again rising in the second level, then the collector will be informing the public that an yellow alert will be given. Then only the people will be knowing that the situation is becoming serious. That is all. Okay. Anything else?
Okay, if there are no other questions, are there any questions? Any more questions? Anybody wants to ask directly, then please unmute your microphone. Okay, please, I request one of the participants to come forward and give your feedback about the session. Any one of the participants, please come forward.
Respected Tulsidharan sir and dear friends, good afternoon. Today's session has come to an end. It is a privilege for me to extend thanks. First of all, I extend my sincere thanks to Sri Tulsidharan sir on behalf of all the participants. We all know his class has enriched our knowledge on the
Excuse
topic.
me, Shaili madam. Madam, you are not audible enough. Can you please say it a bit louder?
Am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Ma'am, you are not audible enough. Put a sound ma'am. Hello, Shaini madam.
Hello? Am I audible?
ഇപ്പൊ കേക്കാം.
Respected Tulsidharan sir and dear friends, good afternoon all. Today's session has come to an end. It is a privilege for me to extend thanks. First of all, I extend my sincere thanks to Sri Tulsidharan sir on behalf of all the participants. We all know his class has enriched our knowledge on the topic, and his way of presentation was very simple and easy to understand. I once again thank him for this wonderful session. I also express my sincere gratitude to the organizers of the CPT for conducting this valuable session. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you all the participants for patient hearing. ഇത് ഉച്ച കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സമയം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് എല്ലാവർക്കും ഉറക്കം വരുന്ന ഒരു സമയമാണ്. എൻ്റെ ടോക്കും സാധാരണ ക്ലാസ്സിലെ കുട്ടികളൊക്കെ കൂടുതൽ ഉറങ്ങുന്ന ഒരു ഇതാണ്. ഒരുപക്ഷെ അത് കേൾക്കുന്ന സാമുവലിനൊക്കെ അറിയാമായിരിക്കും. സാമുവൽ ഡി സാഗർ ഒക്കെ. സാമുവൽ ഉണ്ടല്ലോ അല്ലേ? അപ്പോൾ ഈ സമയത്ത് ഇത്രയും നേരം നിങ്ങളെ ഇവിടെ പിടിച്ചിരുത്തി എൻ്റെ ടോക്ക് കേട്ടതിന് വളരെ സന്തോഷം. എല്ലാവർക്കും താങ്ക്സ്. ഓർഗനൈസേഴ്സിനും എന്നെ നിങ്ങളോട് സംസാരിക്കാൻ വിളിച്ചതിൽ വളരെ സന്തോഷം. താങ്ക് യു.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So we will be winding up the session, and tomorrow we shall meet again at 10 a.m. The link for submitting the feedbacks will be forwarded to your WhatsApp group. Please submit. Okay. So thank you all participants for making the first day of this program a grand success. Looking forward to the same tomorrow also. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.